Money in the Bank is just around the corner, and next week on Raw are going to start with qualification matches to get into the Money in the Bank ladder matches for the men's and the women's. And I want to today talk about who I think is going to win Money in the Bank and why, or at least three choices I would have win Money in the Bank and why, as well as after I've done my bit, I'm going to put on the screen the two kind of Money in the Bank ladder matches I would personally have. So it's kind of like a 2-in-1 where I ramble on about who I think should be winning Money in the Bank, as well as two match cards I'd like to see for the Money in the Bank matches themselves. Yeah, I hope you all enjoy, and yeah, let's see what I have to say in just a moment. Tiffany Stratton, I think, would make an absolutely great Money in the Bank holder. She has all the potential in the world, but I feel like she would especially be good with Money in the Bank. Not only because she can personalise it to like a similar way Damien Priest did. I think she's even said in an interview with somebody that she would make it bright pink and she'd proper like make it her own. But also she'd make like a good holder in the fact of manipulation and having the champion constantly on the reminder that she is Miss Money in the Bank. You know, on multiple occasions we've seen her sit in the crowd, we've seen her be sat backstage, we've seen her be sat up in the arena, just watching what's happening. We've seen it on premium live events, we've seen it on the weekly TV. So I feel like in that sense she could also use her social media of taking pictures with her in the briefcase outside the champion's locker room. Like even like if they get attacked backstage, she could take pictures of her just being stood there with them. And I feel like she would definitely be one to take advantage of a champion being down at the time to cash in Money in the Bank. And I feel like as well, it would be like a similar way to how Edge cashed in Money in the Bank, in a way that it would up her stock even more. So even though we know that she will be a future women's champion, this will kind of solidify her in that role and as a main event woman in the company. And also she would get like a big like heel pop, if you will. I feel like her as a heel is better than her as a babyface. And yeah, just having that moment where, you know, the champion is down and Tiffany finally cashes in, I think people would pop massively for. So yeah, for me, I think overall winning this title opportunity would kind of put Tiffany Stratton on the pathway to being a main event caliber superstar. But then when she cashes it in, I think will be one of the bigger cash-ins and one of the more favourable ones, just because of how popular she is right now, and like before even say within the next year of cashing in Money in the Bank. So yeah, for me, I feel like Tiffany Stratton is probably personally my favourite to win Money in the Bank for the women this year. And just like in overall sense, I think out of the men's and the women's, Tiffany Stratton is the one I definitely want to get the win. Just because I think she would use it and make it more prestigious than it has been for the women over the last few years. So I'm going with Bianca Belair because it's a bit of a weird choice for me, as I wouldn't go for someone who is part of a tag team. But the fact that she is one half of the tag team champions with Jade Cargill, I think would actually help this win out, just because of, we know like at some point one of them is going to turn. For me, I'd have Belair turn, but I'll kind of get to that in a minute. Whereas, you know, having Money in the Bank within that team would put a wedge between Cargill and Bianca Belair. Now, we know that they both want to be women's champion at some point. I think, though they don't show it because Bayley, who is a face, is currently the champion, like the women's champion. I think they don't really show on TV that they both want to be champion, but it makes sense that they would want to be, if that makes sense. I'm trying to drag that out a bit. But yeah, I feel like having Money in the Bank with one of them will create a wedge where the other one might be a little bit more jealous or be keeping an eye on them a bit more, just because they could cash in at any moment. And as history goes, once you win a world championship, the tag team titles don't really matter that much. And I feel like that would again cause a wedge between, meaning that they would then turn on each other, or one of them would turn on the other. My second reason for it, and very unusually for me, I'm choosing Bianca Belair with the idea that she is the first woman to fail cashing in Money in the Bank for the women. I know it's been done many a time by the men, but for the women, they're still at 100% cash-in rate. I would have that break with Bianca Belair as a way to lead towards a heel turn for her in the future, as you know, she got cashed in on last time. She's lost a few women's title matches, and I feel like frustration would eventually get to her and she would turn heel and maybe even join up with Montez Ford as a heel group with the Pride, as I would have the Pride as a heel team when they eventually come back together again. But yeah, for me, I feel like this could lead very well into a Bianca Belair heel turn. I know that a failed Money in the Bank cash-in isn't great, but it just feels like for Bianca Belair it would work perfectly in the long run rather than having a cash-in successfully and going another title reign in the short run. So that's kind of my reasons for having Bianca Belair win Money in the Bank. My third and final choice for the women would be Chelsea Green. I mean, the shenanigans that Chelsea Green would get up to as Miss Money in the Bank I think would be really funny. I feel like her carrying around a guaranteed championship match would do the head in of any GM, because she'd want to maybe not cash it in straight away, but then she would want to cash it in. She'd be so undecided, it would be very funny. Also, I feel like it'd be very similar to Carmella, whereas people maybe don't see her as a world champion and don't kind of see her at that level yet. I think like people did Carmella when she won the Money in the Bank ladder match. I feel like once she actually gets that cash in and she kind of holds it for a bit and cements herself and getting some wins, I feel like, you know, she would be a very good world champion, and she would end up being pretty like big superstars such as Bayley or Cargill or Belair or Stratton. But I think it would help her in the long run, similar to kind of Bianca Belair. Like, I'm thinking more in the long run than I am the short run as far as Money in the Bank goes. But also having Piper Niven backing her up, not only as someone who can help her win Money in the Bank, but help her retain the championship as kind of her muscle. Taking down people like Rhea Ripley or Raquel Rodriguez, I think would really help her case as well as a kind of Shawn Michael and Diesel type combination. But yeah, I feel like, I just think that Chelsea Green has spent the kind of last year and a half of her return being absolutely fed to the wolves. She took an absolute battering in the Royal Rumble. She was fed to Jade Cargill a couple of times upon her debut. I feel like she will get her flowers with probably the biggest win of her career in winning Money in the Bank and getting a guaranteed title shot and becoming a women's champion, because I feel like she does put in a lot of graft but doesn't get a lot of praise afterwards. She's been probably one of the more entertaining parts of SmackDown and Raw over the last couple of years, but year and a half. And I feel like this would do absolute wonders for her, and not only to be taken a lot more seriously, but for her career overall. Bron Breakker, since coming to the main roster, has been an absolute machine and unstoppable, and just has been going on an absolute killing spree, and I'm pretty sure he's killed Ricochet. But of course, I think when it gets to Money in the Bank time of year, they're looking for young superstars who need that kind of big win, and I don't think anyone needs it or deserves it more than Bron Breakker right now. The run he has been on has been fantastic, and I feel like Money in the Bank would only help him out in the long term and in the short term. I mean, like, he's proven himself to be a great champion with his absolutely mega NXT Championship run, or well, at least all of them put together. And yeah, I feel like, you know, it's in one way like the cash in would be good as well, just because I don't think even the champion needs to be hurt or injured in any way for Bron Breakker to come out of pretty much nowhere, spear him out of his boots, and before he knows it, he is on the floor and without a championship. And I don't know, I think with Bron Breakker, similar to Tiffany Stratton, you know, it puts him in a major position to be, like, to reach the heights of a Seth Rollins, a Damian Priest, a Drew McIntyre, and a Gunter, like, where, you know, but he does it in, like, half the time that they did, where, you know, and they can be, like, have him in the main event spot in the company for ages. I mean, he's very young still. He is someone who they're probably going to build a company around at some point, probably like a Roman Reigns figure, but like for maybe 10, 20 years down the line. And yeah, just for me, Bron Breakker being Money in the Bank, I think fits really well. I feel like he would dominate as Mr. Money in the Bank, and he would come, I said his cash in would be so out of nowhere that he would have to do nothing but successfully cash it in. I think out of all my choices, Bobby Lashley is the kind of most out there choice. I'm not going to lie, I have no idea how this has happened. And out of all my picks, I feel like this is probably the most unlikely by a fair bit of a mile, which is fucking criminal in my opinion, but mainly because I have reason to believe that Triple H hates Bobby Lashley. Like, everything that Bobby Lashley, any kind of momentum he has, it seems to get absolutely squashed eventually by the booking, which is obviously Triple H. But anyway, earlier this year I did make a video just before WrestleMania about how I'd want to see more of Bobby Lashley and kind of see him be built up more after WrestleMania. Quite the opposite has actually happened, where he's barely been on TV, if he has at all. I think he was in a tournament, but that was it. But that might have been before WrestleMania. So, but either way, like, I don't know whether he's injured or something, or whether he's just not got anything for him or anything like that. But it just makes no sense to me how Bobby Lashley isn't getting used. And I feel like, though it might be a bit too late now to be building Bobby Lashley towards a Money in the Bank win, I feel like this will put him on the right path to becoming the main eventer that I know, and I think everyone else knows he is and can be. I feel like, you know, having him win Championship Gold is kind of the way forward with that. I was sure he was going to win at least the US title this year, and it doesn't seem to be going that way at all. As I said, we haven't seen him at all. But yeah, I don't know, I just want to see Bobby Lashley kind of be taken more seriously, be used better. Like, even the Profits aren't getting a hell of a lot out of being booked right now, and they seem to be set up to be losing to Waller in Theory at some point, and they're doing stuff with the Bloodline, which is always fucking good and bad. Like, good because you get TV time, and bad because you're probably going to lose. So yeah, I don't know, I kind of feel like if Bobby's doing well, then they might bring the Profits up to his level as well, and yeah, I feel like it just help everyone involved other than Big Fab, who be doing much. But yeah, for me, I just want Bobby Lashley to be back on the trajectory of being a main eventer again. I feel like Money in the Bank would be a great way to do that, just with a bit of build before and after, and a lot of build afterwards, if they are to give it a briefcase. And my third and final choice for the men, I am going with LA Knight, because a lot of people had him to win it last year. I was one of them. But I think he's absolutely fully deserving of a World Championship reign of any kind of anywhere, really, like any championship reign at all. Like, the fact that he hasn't won a championship yet, apart from the $1 million title, is ridiculous. I think LA Knight carrying around the briefcase, it would be, in my opinion, the resurgence of what the concept means. I feel like having it just as an accolade, I feel like at some points has not been great, but I feel like LA Knight would really kind of use it to his advantage in every single way. And I feel like, I'm not sure, I kind of feel like he'd be like a Mr. Kennedy and Edge type, where he would fully take advantage of someone being down, but he can cut killer promos at the same time. And yeah, I feel like a lot of superstars on this list are deserving of this, but I think he is probably the most deserving of them all. Obviously, I've said that Tiffany Stratton is the person I would have win the most, but no one is deserving more than LA Knight of getting that Money in the Bank briefcase and becoming a world champion. And like, though it's not as deeply explained as my other ones, I feel like everyone would agree with me when I say that Mr. Money in the Bank should be LA Knight come next month. So those are the 6 people I think are going to win Money in the Bank, or at least who I would have win Money in the Bank. I think there are some kind of out there choices, especially like Bobby Lashley and Chelsea Green, but there are also some decent choices like LA Knight and Tiffany Stratton and Ron Breakker. So anyway, do put down in the comments below who you think is going to win Money in the Bank and why. And I will remind you that just after this outro, I'm going to have my kind of Money in the Bank matches I would like to see match cards come up. So yeah, do stay tuned for that and see if you agree with them or disagree, and we can talk about it in the comments as well. But yes, I'll ask you to like and subscribe if you like this content or wrestling content in general, as I massive wrestling as well. But yes, for now, I will thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. See you later.